Well, welcome everybody to the Cascade Leadership Zoom tonight. We've got a couple of great topics by a couple of great speakers that we're really excited to bring to you. So we will be talking about how to be a great connector, and then also how to have tough conversations with your team and members. So anyway, with no further ado, I'll turn this over to Theresa and to Katie, and you guys can take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. Okay, so I am going to start with the member part, because having tough conversations with members does look and feel a little bit different than having those tough conversations with employees. But there is a foundational component that is similar in both situations, and there's going to be a little video that we're going to share in just a moment. But first, so in the world that we are in, we're in the service industry, and so we come in contact with hundreds of people a day, and within those hundreds of people, there's definitely going to be folks that are unhappy about something. And so the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we remain calm, and if the customer is unhappy and they start yelling or they're just being rude, we don't want to be rude back. We want to make sure that we are actively listening, and we don't take it personal. The customer's not, or the member's not angry with us. They're just displeased with the service that we have provided, or the product or the quality that we've provided. We want to use our best listening skills. So when we're using our listening skills, we have to be careful of our body language and how we present ourselves with our facial expressions. And I think that those two things right there can turn a member off really, really fast. And so making sure that we're looking at them in their eye, we tilt our head a little bit, we're nodding, all of those things go a really long way. But I think more importantly, we need to sympathize with what they're going through. And that's hard to do. And the reason why is because how we're feeling, how we're personally feeling in that moment needs to match how they're feeling, so we can honestly sympathize. And for example, myself, I am always busy. I'm always running. I always feel like I'm behind one step. And so if a member comes up to me and they have an issue, if I don't catch myself, I will come across that way, that I'm busy, I'm too busy for them. Oh, there's the alarm, just to make sure I get on. So we want to make sure that we're sympathizing with what they're going through and taking our emotion and feeling out of it. So here's a little video that I want you guys to watch. It's about the difference between empathizing and sympathizing. And so if you can play that for me, Doug, that'd be great.
We can do that. Here we go.
Awesome.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Theresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, "I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me." Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Doug. So I don't think that we're expecting for you to hug members when they come up and they have an issue or a problem. But I'm hoping that you guys see that when members do have issues or they do have problems, that really is the golden ticket, is how we empathize with the member. And it's not just our words, but it's our body language and our facial expression. So that takes practice. It's not easy to do. It does take practice to pull yourself out of the emotion that you're currently sitting in and practice feeling what that member is feeling. So what you do is you're actively listening, you're empathizing with what the member's going through, and then you want to find a solution. Whether the member has a legitimate concern or problem or not, they feel like they do, and so we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to make them leave our club feeling better than when they came in. Once you find a solution, it's good just to check out for a little bit, go in the back room, go find somebody that'll make you laugh, because those situations can be kind of stressful. And if you let that stress sit in, that's going to be your emotion that you're sitting in. And so the next conversation that you're going to have, whether it's with a teammate or a member, that emotion is going to come forward. So I will go ahead and jot down these notes, and I will put it onto the leadership page for you guys. But I'm going to quickly now move over to how to have a tough conversation with an employee. So I always like to, I want to make sure I stay on time here. I always like to paraphrase having tough conversations with employees is kind of like raising kids at the end of the day. Not a dictatorship. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we have guardrails up, and our goal is to guide our employees to the path that they're wanting to be on. And let's say that a certain employee is not meeting an expectation. And when I'm talking expectations, I'm not talking about somebody not meeting a policy. So like theft or stealing or dishonesty, that's a whole different set of conversations. And if that happens, then you definitely want to partner with Mary or a senior manager and deal with that separately. But if this is just job expectations and making sure that our employees are doing what they need to be doing, it's a progressive conversation. It's a progressive steps. The first conversation that you have with them, you have to assume that they didn't know about the expectation. They didn't know that they were supposed to do that. And you want to approach them in a real gentle, no biggie type of manner, and nonchalantly just restate the expectation. It can be on the floor. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that type of conversation. The second, so let's say the expectation is continuing to not be met, then the second conversation changes just a little bit. And you can go up to the employee and just say, hey, do you need any help with ringing up a customer on compete? Have you found any obstacles that you have come across? So again, a very nonchalant, easy conversation. The third conversation becomes a little bit shorter, and you're asking the employee, what can I do to help you? It looks like this still isn't being done. I want to make sure that you're successful. So what can I do to help you? Again, kind of parallel with our kids, right? And then the fourth conversation, it might be a sit-down conversation, a closed-door type of conversation, asking them, okay, what's going on? And let the conversation just kind of open up. From that point on, you're going to have a plan. So maybe there's possible consequences, figuring out what the obstacles are and helping them take away those obstacles, and then creating a plan for moving forward. At that point, you probably want to loop in your manager and or Mary, so everybody's kind of on the same page. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because I think sometimes what happens, because we are leading a really fast go type of life, we go straight to step 3 instead of starting in step 1 and having a real nonchalant, soft conversation. So I'm going to parallel this with our kids. So let's say you have a kid comes home and the expectation is to do their homework every single day, and the child doesn't get their homework done. Okay, no biggie, but it's an expectation that you get your homework done every day. Okay. Perfect. Next day, doesn't do it. Conversation changes a little bit. I'm not going to keep saying the same thing over and over, but my tone, my body language, and the words that I choose to use will progress as time moves on and the expectation is not being met. And also, I probably should turn my alarm off, but that's too easy. So when you're having these conversations, you do want to think to yourself, am I recognizing the good behavior? Am I recognizing things that are going well? There was a study done that I read a while back. I don't remember who it was from, but it's 3 positives to every opportunity. And when I say opportunity, it's something that's not being met. Because when you are approached with that one opportunity, it becomes your employee is really going to want to make sure that they perform to that expectation, because they know that you see everything else. So it's super important to not just state what they're not doing well in or what they're missing, but to pat them on the back for things every single day so they stay upbeat and positive. So I have ran across my time. Any questions about any of that? You can open it up if you want, Doug. And if not, I will go ahead and put these notes on the Facebook page as well, so you guys can have it in writing.
Okay, so everybody should be unmuted, so anybody can grab the mic and start speaking.
Okay, and if you don't, that's okay. You don't have to have a question. All right, perfect. So Katie is going to come on board, and she's going to talk about how to be a good connector in our world. All right, Katie, hit it, sister.
All righty, I'm starting my timer. So kind of connector, I took this on as a kind of project because I was nervous. And it really, and all of my things that I was kind of checking out, being a connector is really about being a good people person. And really, I read a quote that connectors are people who link us up with the world, people with a special gift for bringing the world together. So kind of being a connector means that you're kind of, you're looping everybody in. You're making sure that you're kind of creating a sense of community. And as leaders of the club, it's really important that we not only connect with our members, but also with our team members. So our staff that we're leading each other as a leadership team. It just kind of helps strengthen the bond of just the team that you're working on, the group that you decide to spend, 40 plus hours a week encouraging and building. So everyone wants to feel connected. And it's kind of the connector's goal to put the pieces together. The sense of community that we have at Cascade is a really good one. And we have people who want to be there because they want to belong, and, they kind of walk in the doors feeling, oh, am I too out of shape? And, is this the right fit for me? And they really get linked in and connected, whether it be through group fitness, tribe, coming in with a personal trainer, just coming in to talk with a health coach. So I feel that we do a really good job as a team connecting folks, but there are some things that go into being a good connector that I wanted to touch base on. So how do you create a sense of belonging and develop a relationship with members and team members? What are their likes and their dislikes? What motivates this person to put their best foot forward? And really at the core of that, it's listening to people and hearing them share about their world. And that lets you find different ways to strike up conversation and trying to connect the dots between how their lives and your lives interconnect to kind of create a deeper sense of, understanding. One of those things that you can do is remembering details about your coworkers and members, knowing that, a certain member likes a certain baseball team or football team really makes it so, you can have that conversation when you see them walk through the door, like, hey, did you catch that game last night? Jake's really good about razzing some folks. They moved to Florida to get away from him, and he's razzing them about their baseball teams. But it was a really fun thing to watch, their banter, and just kind of see how the member would, they really grew. It wasn't just, somebody being checked in and paying their dues, but it was really a good camaraderie. So that kind of thing creates a connection. Being a connector means that you not only know people, but people trust you. People trust you to kind of be their out or their plug into different aspects of the club. You have somebody come up to a personal trainer and, hey, put me through this workout. Is there anything I should do outside of this? And that trainer can plug them in to a class that they feel that they are the best fit for. Or in the kids club, they can, get to know them and be a connector into kid fit, into kids gym, swim lessons. I think that would be a really big thing that goes into being a connector. And then I was reading an article by Cynthia Johnson, and she said there are a few habits that you can create to become a better connector. And connectors know what people want. They ask, how can I help you, or what can I do for you, kind of in the beginning of a conversation. And by doing that, immediately a relationship because they know what the person needs, and they can meet them at that level. An example, we have a member, she always likes a certain TV channel on, and having her walk in the door and saying, hey, we've got your TV channel on your bike, have a great workout. Just knowing what they need to meet them, that creates that relationship where she can know that she's coming into somewhere that's listened to her before and remembers. Being for a coworker, knowing that, I remember when I used to close at Gresham, not wanting to fill the Sanasol bottles or Suprox, whatever they were called back then, trading that off with somebody and just knowing that their need is that some things they just don't like or they don't want. And you're, as a coworker, as a team member, meeting them and being able to acknowledge that they don't like something. So you're trying to better their experience. While it seems like a small gesture, it does meet that basic need of feeling cared for. So it just makes a deeper connection and relationship. And then another thing that Cynthia Johnson says is that connectors take time to grow their relationships and their connections. And a key part of staying connected is remembering to spend time in person or following up via call, text, email after the initial encounter to keep growing that network and expanding kind of the different things that you guys have talked about and remember about each other. Revisiting a previous conversation with someone lets them know that you're paying attention and lets them know that you do care. And I think that's a huge part of being a connector, because then you're connecting your past conversations with future conversations and giving them an opportunity to dig deeper into the club and into their experience with us. An example, we have a member at Fisher's who is really digging deep into her health coaching journey, and she's kind of up and down with how she feels about it, and she jumps on and off, and Jake and myself and Selena and really basically all of Fisher's Landing is like, making sure that they're taking that time to connect with her and have a conversation and encourage her, whether she, is really, really high up and doing great, or she's kind of, faltering. Those connections that we make with members make them last a long time, because they feel heard and they feel that we're there for them. Another example that you could apply to your coworkers is we have a girl at Fisher's again, who is expecting her first child, and just checking in with her is something that I've tried to make a part of our relationship. And that's to, how is it going? Are you excited? Have you guys found out the gender? Those kind of things, just to make sure that she feels that she's not coming in, punching the clock, watching kids and then leaving. She's really feeling that we and genuinely do care about her and just kind of her journey that she's on. So I just feel like there are different ways that you can really pull people in, wrap your arms around them, and make sure that they are being connected. They're being plugged into the different things, that might be finding a member and taking a class with them, and building that sense of just camaraderie and accountability. It might be just, getting to know people's names, getting to know their smoothie order, or something that simple. I think that through being nervous and doing all my research, I really learned that being a connector means being a people person, and it really means being there actively in people's lives. Is that my timer?
No, sorry, that was my alarm. My bad.
So really, I don't know if I ran off on the wrong direction with that, but really in general, I feel that when people are connected as coworkers, as leadership to folks that are being led, us as, partnering with our members, really at the base of it, the most smooth and effective way for something to be done is if people we work with form meaningful, valuable connections and feel that they're trusted. So yeah, I think that's my takeaway from my topic.
Awesome. Nice job.
Great, fantastic. Anything else, Theresa? You ready for me to wrap this up?
No, does anybody have any questions at all? Do you want to open that up for any questions? I think it's Debbie that was chatting in the Zoom group chat. So I don't know if you guys can see this on the bottom of your screen. And if you can't, you can move your cursor around. And there's a little chat icon. And so that's kind of fun. As folks are talking, you guys can chit chat with one another. So yeah, just know that for moving forward. I meant to talk about that in the beginning and I forgot. So, but Debbie had mentioned something, that trust. Trust is really big. Going back to being a connector and having these tough conversations, we just have to trust that everybody wants to do the right thing and everybody wants to be successful. And so yeah, so I just wanted to point that out there about the chat button, and that trust is pretty big. And then any other questions for anybody else? No? All right, Doug, wrap her up.
Fantastic. Well, if I could make a suggestion, first off, I want to say that this has been absolutely fantastic. The content that you two have brought has been delivered concisely. It's caused me to think a lot, and I think it's probably caused each of us to think quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I've recorded this. I'm going to post this in the leadership Facebook group. And I would suggest that everybody kind of take a little bit of time, not necessarily tonight, but just process. And if you can think of a soundbite that relates to either, overcoming difficult conversation or connecting well with members or with staff, if you can just kind of post a soundbite, a sentence, it doesn't have to be long. I think that'd be encouraging for us to reflect back and look at some of the examples as we take what Theresa and Katie have brought to us and begin to execute it. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up and wish you all a good night. And thank you very much for attending. We'll look forward to seeing you again here in a few weeks.
All right. Peace out.